He just tied Tony Stewart, and it still might not be enough. Shane Van Gisbergen swept Sonoma last weekend, both races, the Cup race and the O'Reilly race. That ties him with Tony Stewart for road course wins in this series. That's not a small number to match. That's a Legends number. So why does his own team sound worried? Because the calendar just ran out of road courses. Here's what's actually on the line. Van Gisbergen needs a spot in the chase. Every race left on the regular season schedule is an oval. Ovals are not his game. Road courses are. And right now, the margin between making the playoffs and watching them from home is razor thin. Let's go back to San Diego first, because that's where this story really starts. Van Gisbergen was the favorite to win. Then he crashed out. Gone. A weekend that should have padded his points total instead nearly buried it. He came into Sonoma sitting just outside the top 16. Outside the cut line, outside the chase. Then he won both races. That result pushed him to P14 in the standings, above the cut line for now. But listen to how he talks about it. This isn't a driver celebrating. This is a driver calculating. Speaking with SiriusXM, Van Gisbergen laid out exactly what's going through his head every single week. Every week we're looking at the points, our gap to the cut line, projected points we need, and all that kind of stuff. The engineering side of things get a bit deep into it. I just need to execute. I need to go do the best I can on the ovals and stop making little mistakes. Read that again. He's not talking about winning anymore. He's talking about not losing ground. Because here's the hard truth the source lays out plainly. Van Gisbergen's strength has been the road courses. That strength is gone from the schedule now. Every race left in the regular season is an oval. And an oval is the one place his own team knows he's most vulnerable. Scoring points on ovals isn't a bonus for him anymore. It's the only path left to the chase. That's the pressure sitting behind that Sonoma sweep. Now here's where the story widens. Because Van Gisbergen wasn't just thinking about his own points battle last weekend, he was talking about the next Kiwi, or in this case, the next Australian, who might follow his path into NASCAR. Broc Feeney was trackside at Sonoma, Van Gisbergen's former teammate from the Supercars Championship, watching in person. On the Dale Jr. Download podcast, Van Gisbergen was asked directly about Feeney's potential in NASCAR, and he didn't hold back. He was trying to get in with some teams there. I think he tried for Watkins Glen and Sonoma. He really wants to have a crack. I'm sure he'd be like me. Maybe he'd want to have a go on the ovals after, but it'd be really interesting to see how he'd go. Think about what that comparison means. Van Gisbergen is the guy who made the jump from Supercars and became arguably the best road course driver in NASCAR right now. Comparing Feeney to himself isn't a throwaway line. That's one of the best in the business saying, this guy could actually do what I did. And then Van Gisbergen pointed at something specific, something with real consequences attached. Ford's road course problem. Ford hasn't won a road course race in the Cup Series in 2 years. Their last win came with Chris Buescher at Watkins Glen back in September 2024. 2 full years without a road course victory for one of NASCAR's biggest manufacturers. Van Gisbergen connected that drought directly to Feeney. I think Ford struggled a little bit on the road courses, so it'd be good to get someone good in that car. Not that the others aren't good, but it'd be really good to see what Broc could do and how much he could do in the future too. That's not a casual compliment. That's a former teammate suggesting a specific fix to a 2-year problem. So exactly is Broc Feeney. He drives for Red Bull Ampol Racing in the Supercars Championship. His team just made its own transition from the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 to the Ford Mustang S650 starting this year. Feeney has finished in the top 3 of the Supercars Championship for 3 straight seasons. Right now, he's the championship leader, a Ford driver, already the best in his own series, already turning up at NASCAR road courses to watch and to try to get a seat, and already getting endorsed by the man who just tied Tony Stewart's road course record. That's the picture the source paints. A possible pipeline forming in real time between a manufacturer that needs road course speed and a driver who might have it, but none of that is confirmed. No team has signed him, no deal is official. This is a driver trying to get in and a friend telling the world he thinks it would work. So here's where this leaves us. Van Gisbergen just delivered one of the biggest weekends of his NASCAR career, a win that ties a legend, a jump into the chase picture, and in that same stretch, he's publicly campaigning for the next road course talent to get a shot in a Ford. but his own championship might not be decided on a road course at all. It's going to be decided on ovals he says he needs to stop making little mistakes on. The single most important takeaway is this: Van Gisbergen Sonoma sweep bought him a spot above the cut line. Not a guarantee. His chase hopes now rest entirely on terrain that isn't his strength. Here's the angle you might not have considered. While Van Gisbergen fights to survive the ovals, he's simultaneously talking up the next driver who could dominate the exact terrain he's about to leave behind him. So which story ends up mattering more this season? Van Gisbergen scraping into the chase on ovals he calls his weak point, or a Ford seat opening up for the driver he says could be just like him? If you want to see how both of these plays out before anyone else does, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This story is not finished.